Hello, happy 2025. I have a question for you. Is making a journal on your bucket list for 2025? If it is, this is the right episode for you. I'm going to share with you my 4-step process on making a journal, the 4 core steps you have to go through. And then I'm going to share my 3 keys per each step to help you take your idea for your journal out of your head and actually make it happen. And I've made it happen for a lot of people inside of my print school program. But more importantly, I started making it happen for me first. So I have my own print company, Horacio Printing. I'm the CEO and founder. I started that 10 years ago. We just turned 10 in October of 2024. And now I've helped hundreds and hundreds of students create their own products. I have a bunch here. I have a lot more down here as well, and a couple more I'm going to unbox soon. And if you watch our show here on YouTube, we do a lot of interviews with students of the past, and we'll have more episodes of students in the future. But that's what I love doing. I love helping people create a journal, planner, or devotional that they love, that they're super proud of, that's high quality, and the way that they wanted it. So if you're a paper snob, I know I am, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Okay, let's start making your journal. I love making journals because they're really probably the lowest lift when it comes to difficulty of a paper product, right? So a planner might be the highest lift, or a really wordy devotional or a 365 devotional. That's going to take a lot of work. But a journal can kind of be a great entry point into the world of owning your own paper product business. It's also undated typically, which is great just in terms of creating a product that can be purchased all year long versus just one time of year. So if you've been wanting to make a journal, I think that's a great idea. So let's go through those 4 steps if you're taking notes. The first step in creating your own journal, this first phase of the process, is called ideation. And this is where you really get that idea out of your head. And some people skip this step, and that's where they go wrong, truly. It's really kind of where you trip at the start line, is if you jump straight to step 2 without doing step 1. And I'll give you a spoiler alert. Step 2 is design. So sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to make a journal. Yay. What do? We go straight to Canva. We start designing, and we just start making this journal and hodgepodging, templates together. And then you look at it and you go, something's wrong. I'm not quite sure what it is, but this is not it. And we abandon the dream, right? And we end up with a Frankenstein Canva file. I don't know if you have any of those lying around in your account, but we want to have a beautiful design that we can hand off to a printer. And what starts with beautiful design is ideation. Ideation is also really critical if you want to have a product that makes an impact. Ideation is where you slow down and you're thoughtful and you really get clarity in all areas about your journal in terms of who it's for, what problem it solves, what makes it different. Because there's a lot of journals out there. And just because there's a lot of journals out there doesn't mean you should feel nervous about putting yours into the mix and taking a piece of that market share. But you want to be intentional. You want to create something beautiful because you want to make impact. You want to make a difference, right? But then also you want people to buy it and buy it again and again and again, or buy it and then they buy 5 for a friend. So here are my 3 keys to think about when it comes to ideation. So under the bucket of ideation, the first key is who and what. Who and what. You want clarity on who is this journal for? And it's okay if it's a broad group, but who is the journal for and what problem does it help them solve? It's not so much this has to help them get out of debt, although if it did, that's great. But what's something stressful in their life, or something that is a pain point for them, they're struggling with their mental health. They're struggling with their mental load. They're struggling in their spiritual life. What piece of that tangible issue that they have, something stressful, something pain point, some unmet desire in their life, what of that does your journal touch? It needs to connect with the reader and connect with something that they need. And it doesn't have to be complex. Journaling can be very, very loose. It could be blank. It could just be a simple prompt. It could just be a concept. It doesn't have to be intensely guided. But it does need to have some sort of theme, like it's just for church notes or it's just for prayers. What is the problem that this solves, this journal? Like what do you hope that they get out of it by the time they finish the journal? Hopefully they love it so much, right? They buy again and again and again and buy gifts for their friends. We have a raving fan, right? So the first one is who and what. The second key to ideation is you really need to get clarity on the user journey. Is this a 90-day journal? Is it an annual journal? Is it there's 90 entries and however long it takes you to get through that? Great. How many pages, yay, how many pages do you want this to take to accomplish for the buyer? And when they sit down to fill out an entry, are they filling up 2 pages? Is it up to them? Maybe there's like a morning entry and an evening entry. What's the journey? How does this fit in their life? The more you can make that clear in your product design, thoughtful, intentional product design, and then also intentional marketing and product education, people are going to actually use the thing because they know how to use it. Have you ever gotten a planner or a journal or something and you open it up and you're like, I don't know what to do with this? We don't want that. That's not what we want. Or if someone opens it up, they're like, oh, this is like thrown together, right? We don't want that. We want them to be wowed, right? So the user journey is really critical. And the third key to ideation, to know that you've really accomplished this step, is a prototype. And if you already have like a Frankenstein Canva file, that's the beginning of your prototype. It's just not the final design. But good news, if you've already done that, you already have the basics of a prototype. A prototype needs to really share the master pages of your product, the core spreads of your product. I've talked about this a lot in these videos. And I talk about this more in depth if you want to watch my workshop at horacioprinting.com/workshop, where I go through this stream printing method more in depth. But you want to have a prototype that's going to allow you to have like the roadmap of your product created. Not that it has to be perfect, because if we can get stuck in this hamster wheel of trying to make our prototype perfect, and it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be messy. And we have to be okay with that. That's tricky sometimes. So that's the second step. Okay, after we finish ideation, the next step, and I already gave spoiler alert, it's design. Okay, so design is the second step, and that's where we take our prototype and we turn it into a print-ready file, meaning a file you can hand off to a traditional printer, and they hand you a beautiful journal. And you're like, yay, I've got it. And you get to have that feeling. It's kind of like, I hate to connect it to like having a baby, but having something birthed out of your heart that you create, it really is a special moment, whether that's a journal or a planner. Or I recently made these vision board kits for my company, and like, it really is special to see hold something in our hands, because so much of what we do is on the internet, and you don't get to touch it. And so it really is special. So that's what this step's all about, is getting you to the finish line, turning that Frankenstein into a beautiful design. So the first key to design is you really want it to look cohesive. That's one of the biggest issues with going to Canva and pulling all these random templates together. It's like, oh, the fonts don't match and the colors don't match, and like the lines aren't lining up in my journal, or the headings don't line up in my journal, and the pages are weird. We want it to feel cohesive from a branding standpoint with colors and fonts and all of that, and how big is the body copy across the whole product. But then we also want it cohesive in the design itself. And you really have 2 options when it comes to design. The first option is to DIY. You do it yourself. You have to know how to design to do that. And maybe you dabble in design like I do, but you haven't ever taken something across the finish line to print ready file, which I'm in that same bucket. So you can DIY, but you have to know how, or you can hire a designer. Now, if you do all that work on your prototype, you could hire a designer and they can take it across the finish line for you, which is what I do. I highly recommend this. I love outsourcing because your time is valuable. And so hiring a designer who can do it faster to get you to the end result faster is ideal. So for my print school students, I give them access to a list of preferred partners that I've used that are designers that can help you elevate your product, even if it's just the final 10 steps. They just kind of take your final file and zhuzh it. Now, if you really want to do DIY and you want to learn, I do have a free bonus inside of Print School taught by a designer that teaches you how to design. So that's been a skill you've been wanting to learn, even wanting to market yourself as a designer for print files. This course would help you do that. It's a bonus course for those who choose to take that path. And it's great. It also teaches you the elements of design. And I love it. I really enjoyed taking it myself. That's your two choices, right? And we let Print School students do either one. I tend to do this one. So the first step in design and first key that I think is really important and critical is that cohesive look. The second key to design is excellence. You really want your product to be excellent. I believe as a Christian business owner, as a Christian myself, I want everything I do in the business world to be excellent. And it should be excellent, not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but excellent. And that excellence design, you can tell, you know it when you feel it, right? And so that's why I steer my students into really thick paper, really quality materials, all the bells and whistles that are going to elevate their product and elevate their price point so they can maximize their profit. So that's another key to design, is really making sure that it is excellent through the right amount of editing, through the right amount of testing. And then lastly, for design, a key that I believe is really important is balance. And sometimes balance, that balance and having white space and having margin, you don't know it till you have your sample, but it is good to know on the front end when you're creating that first file and first design. And obviously, if you hire a designer, they're going to do that for you. But you've seen products where the balance is not balanced. Like there's too much copy on this side and nothing on here. It's like imbalanced, or the headings aren't balanced, or it just doesn't look right. There's not enough white space and it's too overwhelmingly designed. And so knowing the right amount of margin, the right amount of balance and white space is what makes something excellent. And you can't always put your finger on it until you learn what that means. And that's why we have that in our course. So that's huge. So once you finish your design using either Adobe or Canva or hiring your own designer, the next piece is, once you have that print ready file, you go to step 3, which is sample printing. You always want to get a sample printed. I use my printers overseas and I pay the fee to get a sample. And this is where you're going to tell them all the specs that you want. And inside of Print School, I give students access to all of my printers. They get multiple printer connections that I have vetted. And then I give them a quote and a sample request document to teach them how to communicate with printers, how to speak their language, how to ask to get what you want and get the result that you want. Because you can have my printer contact, I can tell you who it is, but you could end up with a product you hate because you didn't know how to articulate in their language what you want. And so that's what I help you do. And then after you're done with Print School, that's your connection forever. I'm not the keeper of that relationship. I'm just teaching you how to run your own business and have your own contacts. Nothing is gate kept. I'm not the middleman for anything. I teach you how to do it yourself. So you send in your quote request, sample request form, and then you get your sample. And so what's really important in this step is price. You want to make sure that the price of what you're creating is feasible for your profit margin. And then obviously you want the right quality. You want it to be beautiful and to be protected and packaged properly. So that's a big piece. And then you're also getting that quote. That's the second key, is during that sample printing phase, you're going ahead and getting a quote for, ordering 300, 500, 1,000, understanding what your upfront costs are going to be down the road when you order your mass order. And then you have a really special moment when your sample arrives in the mail. Yay, my sample's here. It's so much fun to get your sample. Once you have your sample, a key to this is testing it. Do I like it? Do I not like it? How does it feel now that I can see it? Do I like the spacing here? Is this line kind of dark and harsh? Do I want to tone it down and make it more transparent? You can really test it beautifully when you see it all bound together in a final product. Back to price. One of my printers I used at the very beginning was from North America, and this was $28 a unit that I purchased. And it was so expensive. I had to buy 1,000 to get $28 a unit. So I spent $28,000 on this planner and sold it for $37,000. And luckily we sold out and I made my money back. But this was not going to be a feasible option for me moving forward as a company. So now I'm able to print beautiful planners. Here's an example of one of my planners from last year. And I can print these closer to $10. And it includes all the bells and whistles, a box, bookmark, pins, stickers, all the things. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I stuck with my old printer. So your printer is a big piece of the price component, and also not print on demand, which we'll get to in a minute. So sample printing is huge. You always want to get that test of quality from the sample, and also you want to test the product itself. The fourth step after you get your sample printed, and maybe you make a tweak or two, or you love it and you have no tweaks, the fourth step is mass ordering. So ordering your mass print, 300, 500, 1,000, 15,000, however many you want to buy. I really like ordering in bulk because, as you can imagine, you save money buying in bulk. Just like in Costco, you save money buying in bulk. It's the same thing in the manufacturing world. You have to buy in bulk. So you have to buy a large amount of quantity. Now, your amount of large might be different than mine. You might think 300 is a lot, where I think 5,000 is a lot. But I will say, when it comes to mass ordering, this is usually where people ask me, well, what about a good print-on-demand printer? Can't I just do print on demand? Can't I just do print on demand? Then I don't have to worry about inventory. I don't have to have all the risk. I don't have to buy it all up front. It sounds too good to be true, and unfortunately for me and what I like, it is currently too good to be true. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is a lot of bad news that comes with print on demand. First off, it's so expensive. Like, if you really get what you want, first off, you won't fully get what you want, but you're going to pay a pretty penny. I have print school students coming in all the time like, oh, I talked to Vervanti, or, this printer and that printer, and it was like $40 an item, $50 an item. Well, how on earth can you charge, 3x or 4x of $50 for a printer? Like, you can't. Like, your margin becomes so small on that item. And then other print-on-demand companies don't allow for the customization of the inner pages. Some print-on-demand companies doesn't allow for like luxurious materials like super thick paper or the linen or the leather or the color options. And so print-on-demand has its major limitations. And then if you want like the stickers and the pin and the box and the dust bag and the bookmark and gold foil stamping, like, you can't get something like this. I'm not saying this is exactly how you would want yours, but you can't get something like this printed on demand with the, bookmarks, with the beautiful design, with the thick paper. Like, this isn't an option. Certainly not an option with the tabs and the bookmarks and the pockets, okay? We love the pockets. So if you really want excellence and something beautiful that you want to charge a high price for, print on demand isn't the option. If you want to just release a book and have a little booklet, I'm just looking for like a booklet, if like you want, and this is no shade to this book here, if you want a book like this, then you can use print on demand. And that's great. And I'm going to read this book. And I bought this book. And I'm excited to read this book. So no shade to this book, Braving the Thin Places. I'm going to Iona this year for a spiritual pilgrimage, and I'm so excited about that book, and I am very behind in my book reading, so hopefully Amy isn't watching this because I am so behind. Anyways, that's a tangent, but the big things we need to know about mass ordering is you do have to buy in bulk. I don't recommend print on demand, and you have to know the importing rules so you can be in compliance and not have any unexpected surprise bills. I do recommend to my students to use door-to-door shipping, DDP, it's called duties. Basically, it means it's all of it. It's all included. That's the way I prefer to import. But there's also other rules you need to talk with your manufacturer about so you're in compliance, like making sure the country of origin is stamped on your carton, because these little mistakes in the journey can be expensive and can also mess up your timeline, which is critical if you have a time-sensitive product, not as critical if you don't. But that's something in print school that I kind of help with the do's and don'ts of that specifically. So that's the 4 steps. It's ideation, design, sample printing, and then ordering your mass order. But here's the big piece. How do I sell it? Like, how do I market it? How do I get it out there? How do I make sure I make my money back on this investment of time and money? Good question. This is why I created Launch School. Launch School is a free $2,000 bonus that comes with Print School, and it walks you through how to gather all of your assets for marketing, how to create a launch plan, how to do a pre-order campaign, how to build your website and sell on your website, how to grow your audience, how to do customer service, all the things. I also teach you everything about fulfillment warehouse in Print School. So if you want to like not run a fulfillment center out of your garage, you can have someone else do it like I do on the back burner. So you don't have to worry about that. But what's really cool is you don't have to go in order 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideation, design, sample printing, mass order printing. You actually don't have to go in order. This is the order I do every year, but there is another way. And that is where you go from ideation to design to sample printing. And then between these two, you do a pre-order campaign and you gather pre-order sales in order to fund your print so that the printing twofold, you don't have to use your own money to buy the print, and you kind of validate the concept that people want to buy it, right? Like you get to test the market and get pre-sales without spending your own money on all that inventory. So that's a really great model. We just had a lot of Print School students do their Kickstarter recently. You can check out some of their stories at horacioprinting.com/alumni. If you scroll down, you can see some of their Kickstarter campaigns, which is so fun. But I will say that my second year, I spent all of our profit on my wedding. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to buy the next planner in 2016? So I did a Kickstarter and it was great. I was able to raise, I needed to raise like 10 grand and I raised 20. But if you think about it, let's say with a journal like this, a very simple, small journal that you could probably sell for $27, $30, depending on what it came with. Maybe let's say 25 on discount. If this costs $5 to make and you want to buy 500, you would need to raise $2,500 to get this printed. And you can just do the math here. So if you wanted to buy 500 and they're $5 each, you need to raise $2,500. So how many do I need to sell at $25 to raise the money? 100. So you have to do a pre-order campaign, get 100 people to buy it, and that gives you all the cash you need to buy 500 units. See that? And then that way, when the products come in, all you're doing is shipping out those 100, and the rest of the 400 are paid for, and that is your profit. And that's amazing. So that's just some quick math to kind of give you the concept of how it works so that you aren't the one funding it. Now for me, I do the traditional way. I fund my own planner prints, but I have done in the past where it's like, all right, I want to make this product. Let's do a pre-order campaign and raise the 3K, 5K, or 10K to get a lot of printed. And then I don't have to worry about that cost on me, which is a great way. I'm not a big fan of going into debt for business. It's just not biblical. And also it just adds the stress, and like, you don't need any more stress as an entrepreneur. So that is my little training. I hope that helped you. So if you want to get access to Print School and Launch School, all you have to do is apply. And in the application, we will ask you a little bit about ideation of who do you want to make this product for and what can it help them with. So our application helps you a little bit get the wheels turning when it comes to ideation. I cannot wait to read your application. I would love to help you this year bring your idea off the back burner and into your hands, to help you step by step through all 4 steps, along with all of the marketing and launching and sales on the back end. So if that journey sounds exciting to you, please come join Print School. I'd love to see you over there. You can learn more at horacioprinting.com/print school. That's where you can go learn more and apply. And I have a free workshop if you want to check that out at horacioprinting.com/workshop. So make sure you take your next step and subscribe to this channel. If you have a question specifically that you want me to answer on this channel, I would love to know. Drop it in the comment below. And also tell me a little bit about you. I'd love to connect with you. I hope you have a wonderful day. You are so loved. Bye, guys.